Minnesota Original is made possible by the State Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
On this edition of Minnesota Original, Charlie Hoffman has been handcrafting acoustic guitars since 1970. Asia Ward sculpts and suspends aluminum dreamscapes. And City Page's 2012 Best Album winners, the Cactus Blossoms, perform.
You broke my heart, dear. Now we're apart, dear. And today is a sad day to be you.
These artists and more, now on Minnesota Original.
My first guitar was finished in June of 1970. I played it, I thought it sounded good, but I needed feedback, and one of my very good friends, who was a good guitar player and a musician, immediately asked me to make one for him. It's taken me a long time to be completely comfortable with the notion that I make really nice acoustic guitars. When talking about what makes a guitar sound good, the simple answer is everything. The issue that we're constantly dealing with guitar tops specifically, is that they are being subjected to 175, 200 pounds of pressure 24/7 from the strings being on them. And left to its own device, this piece of wood, which is about 110 thousandths of an inch thick, would blow up very soon. So what we have to do is apply braces inside. This is called an X-brace. It's actually two pieces of wood that are notched and glued together. Hide glue is essentially gelatin. It is the oldest form of glue that we know of. There is at least some reason to think that hide glue makes guitars that sound better. The point of heating up the wood is so that the glue will not get cold. The size, the placement, the design of the braces to the top has more to do with the sound of the guitar than anything else, just flat out. And so the process of carving braces makes or breaks a guitar. For me, what I'm doing is partly the woodworking thing. It's partly that I love guitars. I think that they are artful, they are beautiful, they are fun to hold. I love the sound of them. But there's another part of it, and this may sound a little grandiose, but I really believe that music is important in this world. I'm not a musician, but I can contribute by making guitars for other people to make music.
I came to Minnesota around 1973, lived on the West Bank, which was a great music scene with all these great musicians I admired, like Dave Ray and John Kerner, Leo Kottke, and of course there was Charlie's Guitar Shop. And I would like to go in and play the guitars, and I knew a lot of musicians that liked to play his guitars. I play a genre of music they call fingerstyle guitar, and it's got a little bit of classical music, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of world music, American roots music, and it's a kind of a style where you're playing the melody, the rhythm, the bass, everything all at once. It's kind of like juggling.
Tim was, when I first heard him, as good a guitar player as I knew in the Twin Cities. He's done nothing but get better and better.
What I'm doing in my music is trying to find a place on the guitar that it's very expressive, and the quality I really like to bring out is the quality of like an orchestra on the guitar. It's a very delicate quality, but my specialty is a kind of a naked sound. I don't have a lot of effects. I'm just playing with just the acoustic instrument. I mean, every different guitar's got a personality, and the kind of vocabulary you'll play on it will spring from that kind of personality on the guitar. Now, the great thing about this guitar is it plays very, very well everywhere. And I have a kind of a style where I go all over the neck. So that's one thing about this guitar that works really great for me.
The guitars that I choose to make are ones that follow the tone that's in my head. I like guitars that tend to be very clean, not muddy, crisp, have a lot of projection, power, dynamic range. That's what I like to hear. Of all the things that people ask me about building guitars, how do you bend the wood is the most common. This is Indian rosewood. I soaked it in a tray of water for a couple hours. I'm going to be clamping it to this form here, which is heated. It is currently about 400 or 500 degrees. The water and the heat are what make the bending work. The hard part is the starting and getting everything lined up, and then the actual bending around the jig is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Done. There are people in this world who buy expensive guitars and hang them on the wall and look at them. And to me, that's not just the glass is half empty as opposed to half full, it's the glass is empty. They're supposed to make music. So I love the look of them, I love the feel of them, but if the other part of it, the making music, is not there, then somehow that guitar is being cheated. This particular piece, the bending went very well. The curves are smooth with no kinks or anything like that. A very large part of the enjoyment of what I'm doing is with any guitar of any model, whether I'm making it for an individual or just on spec for hanging on the wall, is at some point I string it up for the first time and I get to hear it and I enjoy that. And they're all different, maybe not radically different, but they're all different, and it gives me pleasure to hear that. When Tim is playing, my response to it is partly, oh my God, he's playing my guitar. How cool is that? But an awful lot of my guitars are in the hands of people who just play them and enjoy them. To date, I have made 602 guitars, and seeing somebody come in and pick up their new guitar and play it, and there's a light in their eyes, is very gratifying. I never was able to get quite that sort of feedback when I was being a lawyer.
One morning I literally woke up with a feeling in my body as though I was painting. My hand was moving and I just felt this urge to be painting. I didn't really know what I was going to be painting. I just felt it. The painting is completely wet. I work in a kind of a soup. The paint moves on its own, so it's moving and I'm moving, and then when I'm finished with a piece, it's not finished. Overnight it does its own thing. It'll sort of split and crack in places. So when I started, I had some frustration. I was like, I put black there, now the black is gone. But then the black would reemerge with the split. Not only would it split, but it would drag paint and create a stroke. I couldn't take credit for that, but I was just really happy that that part of it is a part of the final piece. I consider it kind of a collaboration between me and paint because, which sounds kind of weird, but it's kind of an exercise to me in not trying to be so in control of everything. It's almost like life. It's like I don't have control. I can contribute, and then it shifts and changes, and then I have to, I mean, it's not hard to accept, but I'm not in total control. It's kind of like teaching me to, you know, let some natural processes happen, and then, wow, it turned out great. You know, it's just a lovely experience to paint. Swimming around with these colors and they just kind of surround me, and I'm really lucky that when I'm done with a painting, I'm super pleased with it. I mean, it's just goodness all the way around.
It's not rocket science. It's a 10-foot piece of rope with a hook at the end. We got 3 of them hanging in the equipment shed out back. One of them is thicker, but a little shorter. One of them looks thin as shoelaces, but it's a good half-foot longer. If you got first pick, take that one. It looks flimsy, but trust me, you will break before it does. See, these are the days before robots, and this is a city where people leave their empty apartments, leave their empty SUVs, and finally, leave their empty shopping carts. Here. For us, you can hook 7 together with that rope and push them back in. When it's busy, grab 10. When it's crazy, stack 30 up and we'll push them in together. Just be careful because these people, they will look right through you when they back out of those spots. When they take that corner at 30 miles per hour, when they forget that they forgot to use a blinker and cuss you out for walking through a crosswalk. See, to that guy right there, we are background noise. Uncredited extras in the 80-year-long made-for-TV romantic comedy that he calls life. We are neurons flickering stupidly, infantry stomping through the dreams you won't remember upon awakening, so make sure you wear comfortable shoes. Boots in the winter, sneakers in the summer. Add pads as you grow older. Learn to control the convoy of carts without that rope. Just balance, coordination, and will. Learn to control the fist that lives in your neck when these people just leave their cart sitting in the middle of a parking space. Swallow. When they look right through you, swallow. When it's 15 below and a straight jacket would be warmer than these flimsy company coats and you're working a double shift because you've heard rumors of layoffs and the dapper manager saunters up and says, "How's it going, chief?" Swallow. Understand, they will never understand this. The beauty of a parking lot at twilight, how the sky burns blue. The sweetness of every second when the big hand is on the 11. The smile of the pretty girl who actually looks at you. We betray ourselves for $7 an hour. Our native language is white noise, cartpushers, cashiers, janitors. We are an army fighting a war we don't believe in a country whose name we can't pronounce, but we're fighting. And we're tired, but we're fighting. We're losing, but we're fighting. You get 2 15s.5 hours for lunch. Those breaks aren't for your body, though. See, they're to keep you from going crazy. With an 8-hour shift broken up into quarters, that's just 4 2-hour shifts. After punching in, chatting with the MOD, and putting your gloves on, you can glance at your watch and say, wow, I'm almost halfway to being halfway done with half of half my shift. It makes the time fly right by. You'll be fine, kid. Just remember, smile. You're representing the company. Remember, say hello to people when they come in. And remember, when they look right through you, you're still there.
First I make like a wooden back, and then I use a nail gun to nail the first layer of aluminum. And that's what this stuff is. It's just really thin aluminum flashing that people put on houses. I first started, it was more of a traditional diorama, so like the pieces were layered like this, you know, like one from each other in parallel. And then I realized that the aluminum offered so much more potential for kind of laying it out in all different angles, which is really what I was going for anyways. I'm trying to develop all these angles to the piece, so it's not just you look at it from the front, you can look at it from all different angles. So I have to kind of turn it over and tackle it in different positions. I float the layers by just using scrap aluminum. That way I can kind of position them in place, like hover them from layer to layer. And then I attach them by using these rivets, using like a pop rivet gun. And I'm really digging on the shadows that they create, because I feel like, you know, like that fills in the gaps, that like develops, it rounds the piece out. Even though they're like they're square pieces, plain stuck together. It's all of a sudden round, you know, like almost like an armadillo. It's like, whoop. I put a couple pieces up, and then I like to reduce the pieces down to more of what I was thinking of. I'm looking for a certain line. When I first started, I really wanted to work with paper, but paper can't hold a lot of weight, and you can't build on top of it very high or it'll just kind of compress. And I tried many different kinds of materials, but aluminum, I was going to the hardware store and I found aluminum. When I first started, I was pretty sure that it was going to work. I had the confidence, because it's kind of like paper, but really I didn't like the shininess. I didn't want it to look like the aluminum. And so I used this type of spray paint that makes things look powdery, and it kind of transformed it to look more like paper, which is what I originally wanted it to be. I call my pieces aluminum dioramas. Most people have made a diorama when they're like little kids, so that gives people kind of perspective that there are layers or dimensions to it. That's the diorama aspect of it. I had this idea of what environment that I want to make, and this one is about it's called the Poor Mississippi. So it's about the Mississippi. It's about using the river as like a pathway for the eye to travel from one piece to the next. I tried to sketch it out. I use this little narrow graph paper because I'm trying to force myself to not spread out so far. It's hard to draw a three-dimensional shape multiple planes, so I just kind of go for the lumps that I know I want to be there, like the composition. I made this, there's a sample tree, it looks kind of ugly, it's been through a lot. So what I do is I find like scrap, that way I can recycle all the pieces that I use. And then I just rivet the pieces together, and then once I get the tree shapes that I like, then I can just attach them directly to the cool thing about using these trees is that it can help people visualize the perspective. So if this is supposed to be closer and this is supposed to be far away and they're still on the same plane, I can make a giant tree here and a tiny version over there, and that'll help people like lay it out in their head. So. Okay, let's see, what should I start out with? This film is neat. Depending on the angle, you know, it's blue, and certain angles it's red. I have been working with lights and different light effects and move, like for instance, I have this piece that's a puddle and there's like grass kind of coming out of it, and having the grass take over not just the, you know, the area around the puddle, but the shadows kind of taking up all around it, so it almost grows. And then using that same light effects to kind of make the puddle look like there's different layers of mud. I want the public to enjoy the shapes and the lines. I'd like them to be able to recognize that it is a landscape. I want people to kind of take it out of context, from away from the wall and then maybe into their own life or other visions they may have out in nature. It's pretty simple, I guess.
What made you leave me? I can't explain. My world grew dark and full of pain. I learned the hard way, but now I'm okay. And today is a sad day to be you. Today is a sad day to be you. I'm not sorry that we're through. You broke my heart, dear. Now we're apart, dear. And today is a sad day to be you. I found a new friend since we're apart. Baby, she treated me good right from the start. I love you only, but now you're lonely. And today is a sad day to be you. Today is a sad day to be you. I'm not sorry that we're through. You broke my heart, dear. Now we're apart, dear. Today is a sad day to be you. Today is a sad day to be you.
A poetry slam is both an art and a sport. It's poetry that you write with the intent to express out loud to an audience. So it's a little bit of poetry, a little bit of stand-up comedy, a little bit of rhetoric, a little bit of hip-hop possibly, a little bit of like all these different vocal forms, a lot of theater too, actually. All these different vocal forms kind of mashed together. Poetry slam democratizes poetry. It says that you don't have to have an MA to know what poetry is. You don't have to be a grad student. Poetry is for everybody. You know, it's very much a community for me and about building something that transcends the way that we're always segregated, whether, you know, by neighborhood, race, ethnicity, class, all these different things, like pushing everyone together and being like, everyone has a story. What's your story? Let's talk about it. Let's listen to it.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the State Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.